Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal and Historic Locations and Legends. Um, Before we get started with the slideshows of tonight, I don't normally do this on my show, but I actually have a relatively special guest who's going to be coming on in just a second. One quick announcement to just start off with things is that not only has my show has Paranormal and Historic Locations and Legends have begun have been broadcasting the Things Network, but I've also been added to a new channel by the what's called the Pact channel. So I'm going to be bringing in the guy who was inviting me on. So everybody, welcome, Mr. Zach Clayton.
Hey Nick, how's it going, buddy?
It's going good. How about you?
Doing great. We're beyond excited about the addition of you and your show, and learning more about this and adding this new twist to what we're trying to do. So I think it's fantastic that you have accepted this, and I see us working together for a long time, working with Things Network, and you, Jeremy, and I sat down and had a great conversation about trying to find a way to help save some of these wonderful places that you've been talking about. So can't wait until we get the T's dotted and the I's crossed. I just like turning it around. So,
yeah, I mean, obviously, we've talked in the past about how very fond we are of historic locations, and especially with a number of these locations that sadly have been have either been torn down or in danger of being torn down. It's a very important thing in this day and age for not only you and me, but for a lot of people.
History is kind of one of those things that's really a hot button subject right now, but there's one fact that nobody can dispute. History happened. There we go. There's Brian Gibson from Project Die Hard. Thank you for tuning in, Brian. Hope
Brian.
that you really enjoyed this new show. But history happened. Regardless if it's a history that you like or you agree with, or it did happen. And these, if the halls could talk, if the walls could talk of some of these buildings, and depending on your belief in the paranormal field, maybe they do. Maybe the halls or the walls can talk. So if we save these buildings, we can tell the story about them, and we can learn from these wonderful buildings.
Absolutely. I mean, it's, when you think about it too, is that it's not like what you see out. Like if you look at it at a country like Europe or Asia, those places are well over centuries, if not even over 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
You look at the places we have here in the United States, as well as some parts of Canada, they may only go for about 100, 200 years old, unless you're in the northeastern area of the United States. That's where some of our oldest structures are, and the fact is, it's really due to the fact. It's really because, maybe it wasn't over 100 years ago, but it just seems like no one really cares about some of these places. They just want to tear these places down, so they could build like a Walmart or something like that. It breaks my heart that we're not following in the same, following the footsteps as other countries do.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Nick, I'm going to say this here real quick. Pact is the Pact channel, and what we try to do is we just try to bring people together and let everybody know that you're not alone, you're not in this alone. We can try to help you out, and there are the program that I run, which is Community Pay It Forward, is there to try to help people in emergency situations. One of these emergency situations is Mr. Brian Gibson in Project Die Hard. And we invite you to stick around after Nick's show for the Pact podcast, which is my own. And we're going to be talking. We recorded a 23-minute video with Mr. Brian Gibson of Project Die Hard. And you can hear how he took the gun out of his own mouth, stopped himself from committing suicide because he heard the word of God. And now he's trying to build a facility, not trying. We are building a facility that's going to help out our veterans in this country. So please, there you go. Lived in Germany. That's a wonderful, wonderful story there. So, but please stick around after this. We welcome Nick. And if you would like a chance to get into the podcasting world, you have something positive to say, let's talk. Let's see if we can get you on air. You can become a star like Nick's going to be, and as we told him, we can't make you famous. Only he can do that, but we're going to give him a platform to talk about some good things. So, Nick, brother, my friend, it's great to hear you. It's great to have you on the Pack channel. Great to have you in the Pack family. We hope you guys all stick around and join us in the next segment or in the next hour for our podcast. But I hope you have a great show, my friend, and I will talk to you very, very soon.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you again so much, Zach, for bringing me on. I mean, I can't thank you enough. So thank you.
Not a problem. And like I said, I'm excited about this. I'm probably more excited about this than a lot of people are because of my love for history. So, but I hope you have a great show, my friend.
Awesome. I'm sure it's going to be great. So thanks again.
Yep.
All right, Zach. Well, I'm going to get started and I'll talk to you again. I'll definitely talk to you again real soon. So thanks. Thank you.
Sounds good. You have to let me out of here, buddy.
All right. And that was Mr. Zach Clayton. I definitely, again, this is quite a gift that not only am I able to broadcast on the Things Network, but now being able to broadcast on not one, but two. It truly is an honor. I mean, I'm very happy about this. So, but anyways, speaking of historical locations, tonight's slideshows I got, they're going to be relatively short slideshows. We got one that's mostly of historical value, and then the other one is, of course, also historical, but has some ghost stories associated with it. I just want to give a quick shout out before, and again, for anyone who's watching right now, I do apologize that I'm not able to see all the comments. For some reason, on my personal profile, it's not showing up in the comments section, so I have to look on the phone. So I just want to say hello quickly to Julie. Great to see you. Your house your house was built in the UK in the 1920s. Very interesting. Of course, I already said hello to Brian. Good to see you. Hey, Irene. What's going on, Greg? Don, thanks for tuning in. I just want to make sure, because you know how things are. Wait, hang on. Oh, that's right. I have to hang on. I just realized I still have Zach. Zach stuck. How do I do that? Oh, wait, he's got it. Okay. All right. So for the first slideshow I got here for tonight, let me do this because I always have trouble sharing the screen for this. Sometimes you just gotta love how StreamYard works. All right, here. And again, I just thought I'd give the oh, thanks, Irene. Glued to the corn. Go on, Irene. Okay, let me try this. Every single time. Okay, let me, as I always want to do, I just want to make sure that the screen is actually showing. And again, like I said, I'm sorry if I don't see anybody's comments, because I can't see them while I'm doing this, unfortunately. So I'm not ignoring anybody watching. Here we go. Okay. So for tonight's episode, the first location we have here, it's called the Dunsmuir or Hellman House. Very beautiful structure indeed. And we're going to get right down to business. So this 37-room colonial revival mansion, along with its surrounding horticultural park and gardens in Oakland, California, allows visitors to see how the wealthy lived a century ago. Alexander Dunsmuir, son of Robert and Joan Dunsmuir, when he moved to San Francisco to assist manage with the exportation of coal from his family's Vancouver Island mine business. While living there, he oversaw the family estate and soon became engaged to a woman named Josephine in 1878. Now, unfortunately, just before I even continue, I know I usually have photos, for certain individuals. Unfortunately, I was unable to find, for some reason, I was unable to find a photo of Josephine herself. I don't know if it's because that there's just simply no photographs of her that have been left have survived since then, but you get the idea. Let's see. Unfortunately for okay, here we go. Sometimes I always have issues losing my place. Unfortunately for Alex, there was a catch. Josephine was already married and had two children. Josephine obtained a divorce in 1880, and at this point, Alexander had already been living in her home as a boarder for 2 years. However, due to his mother's disapproval, Alexander refrained from marrying Josephine for many years. In let's see, in 1899, he built the Dunsmuir Hellman House, also known as today the Dunsmuir Hellman House Historic Estate, and previously known as Oakdale Park, an elegant mansion that he intended to give to his future wife as a wedding gift. The Dunsmuir Mansion was designed by the San Francisco architect J. Eugene Freeman. Whoops, I accidentally pressed one a little bit ahead. Architect J. Eugene Freeman, and is an example of neoclassical revival architecture, which was popular in the late 1800s. The 37-room mansion is 16,224 square feet and features 10 fireplaces, a Tiffany-style dome, wood-paneled public rooms, and inlaid parquet rooms. Parquet floors. The servant quarters in the house are designed to accommodate 12 live-in staff. The couple wed happily on December 22nd of that year. Alexander was 46 years of age, and Josephine was 50, although she stated on her marriage certificate that she was 38. Oops, I guess I forgot to add a effect to that. Tragically, but I'll get that fixed later. Tragically, Alex's life was cut short and never even got to live in the mansion with Josephine as he fell ill and died on January 31st, 1900, after a lifelong battle with alcoholism while on their honeymoon in New York. Following the death of her husband, Josephine returned to live in the house for a short time, but soon died herself shortly after succumbing to breast cancer on June 22nd, 1901. Interestingly, excuse me, I have talking weird today. Alexander's stepdaughter may be recognizable to those with an interest in early 20th century actresses. Edna Wallace Hopper was a star of both stage and screen, as well as the face of her own line of beauty products. All right, let me just, you know what? No, I don't need to check right now. Well, that's weird. Oh, wait, that's how it was supposed to be. A few years later, I.W. Hellman German purchased the estate in 1906 as a summer home for his family, and by 1913, the mansion was remodeled for the larger family's needs, as well as to hold their growing. Sorry, I just damn messages. um, and by 1913, the mansion was remodeled for the larger family's needs, as well as to hold their growing acquisitions from European travel. I.W.'s wife, Esther Hellman, kept the estate well years after her husband's death in 1920. The mansion stayed in the Hellman family, in which his widow, children, and grandchildren continued to spend summers at the estate. Oh, wait, sorry, I guess I forgot something here to add. Anyways, the mansion stayed the Hellman family, in which his widow, children, and grandchildren continued to spend summers at the estate into the late 1950s. During this time, the family expanded the estate. Additions included the swimming pool, tennis courts, Dingle Spielhaus, I think that's how you say that, glass conservatory with grotto, aviary, greenhouse garden maze. Japanese garden, even a 9-hole golf course, and a good deal of landscape development on the northern end of the estate during their time there. It is rumored that the landscape architect John McLaren, designer of Golden Gate Park, helped the Hellmans with the plans for the property. In the early 1960s, the mansion, excuse me, in the early 1960s, the mansion and lands were purchased by the city of Oakland with the intention of using it as a conference center. When this project didn't work out, a nonprofit organization was formed in 1971 to preserve and restore the estate for the public benefit, and for many years, the nonprofit group and the city jointly operated the estate. Now, I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with this particular film. The estate also started being used as a location or background for several movies and television shows. The first movie shot to be the oh, I guess I accidentally made a mistype here. The first movie to be shot at the mansion was was Burnt Offerings in 1976 and stars Karen Black, Oliver Reed, Betty Davis, and Lee H. Montgomery with Eileen Heckart, Burgess Meredith, and Anthony James in smaller roles. It is based on the 1973 novel of the same name by Robert Marasco. 3 years later, in 1979, Phantasm was also shot at the mansion. All right, now let's fast forward. In June of 1989, the nonprofit organization took over most of the administrative duties and dubbed the grounds the Dunsmuir House and Gardens, with its primary function to be as an educational, historical, cultural, and horticultural resource. The mansion has been listed on the National Register of Historic Places by the United States Department of, whoops, I forgot to click on that. The mansion has been listed on the National Register of Historic Places by the United States Department of the Interior, and both the mansion and the carriage house have been designated historic landmarks by the city of Oakland. Let me see here. What's going on, Gary? Thanks for tuning in. Now, as for the Dunsmuir, what it is like today, the full grounds are open to the public Tuesdays through Fridays from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. If guests visit on a Wednesday or the first Sunday of the month during the months of April through September, except for July, they can enjoy a docent-led tour of the 37-room Dunsmuir Hellman Mansion and the expansive grounds for $5. The property is also available to be rented out for events like weddings, corporate engagements, auctions, and historic reenactment gatherings. And that actually concludes the first one. See, I was surprised that there wasn't as much history on a place like this, because, you look at it, such a structure like that, you would think that there'd be so much more to it. Hey, listen, it's Chrissy. Chrissy's online. Good to see you. For those that don't, it's kind of a long story. But yeah, I was expecting there was going to be a lot more to cover for the Dunsmuir Hellman house. But surprisingly, no matter how much I found, it was just really a lot of the same kind of information that, I was able to find that is. However, for those who are tuning in for the first time here on the PAC channel, what I often do with a lot of these locations, if they're at the sites of well-known horror movies, I often usually show the trailers to these particular films. So I'm going to share the screen here. We're going to check out the trailer for Burnt Offerings. If anybody hasn't seen that movie, which fortunately, see right here, just like I always do, I actually have. Hopefully the screen isn't going to ruin it. Yep. See what's going on. Hey, what's going on, Vivian? Thanks for tuning in. I might have to turn off the here. I appreciate that, Chrissy. Thanks. Let's see here. Let me just turn off the screen so you guys can get an idea of what I'm holding, because for some reason it just doesn't allow it. There we go. So as you guys can see now, there we go. You guys can see I actually got a DVD copy of the movie Burnt Offerings. I'm going to switch it back now. And for those that, again, who haven't seen that film, the best way I could describe Burnt Offerings with the Dunsmuir Hellman House is that it is practically that haunted house film that came out in the 70s before the Amityville Horror. It has just a somewhat very similar plot line, although it's unlike Amityville, it's actually a fictional story. And surprisingly, it's actually rated PG. So that's kind of something that you don't really quite see. Well, especially with a case like Burnt Offering. So I'm going to share the screen so you guys can check it out. Hey, Bridget, good to see you. So give me 1 second here, and then as soon as we get to as we finish as soon as we get to the trailer, we finish the trailer, we'll get right to the next one. Let's see here for a second. All right, so for those who haven't seen it, this was the first film where the Dunsmuir Hellman House was filmed. So here is from 1976, Burnt Offerings, the trailer that is.
It all began as a summer vacation. A young family found a beautiful old house. It had secluded, spacious grounds, a large swimming pool, magnificent furnishings.
So you are the people who want to rent this house?
What do you mean it's $900? And it's one.
Well, there is one other thing. Hardly a catch.
They thought it was the answer to their dreams, but it was the beginning of a nightmare. In this old house, up this staircase, behind this locked door, something lives. Something strange. Something powerful. Something evil.
Stay away from the door!
It will possess this woman. It will destroy this man. It will terrify this child. And no one can stop it. Burnt Offerings, starring Karen Black.
Have you actually tried to tell me that this house is responsible?
Oliver Reed.
This house is destroying us.
Betty Davis.
This house is getting so cold.
Burgess Meredith.
And this house will be here long, long after you have departed, you believe me?
Eileen Heckard.
God, when it comes alive, tell them about it. Tell them what it's like.
Wow.
Behind this door lies a horror beyond imagination. Who is it? Where did it come from? What does it want? When you find out, it will be too late. Burnt Offerings.
Wow. That's quite rated PG. I should have left that on. Let's see here. Thank you, Vivian. Yeah, Oliver Reed's great in it, but that's definitely quite an intense film for a play. And they definitely, I don't think they could have chose any better location than the Dunsmuir Hellman House. There's a lot of people out there who say that to this day. It's still a film that makes quite a number of people nervous when they watch it. So, but anyways, now moving forward, we're gonna get to the second location. There's a good chance we might be ending a few minutes early today. I wouldn't even be the least bit surprised if we ended up ending about maybe not half hour, but 15, 20 minutes early, because again, the slideshows here are relatively short. I kind of wish I could have added a third slideshow to this. However, the next one I do have, which I'm of course going to save for next week, because that one is going to take a while to to tell. So I don't think it's really worth adding the third one. So the third one I'm also kind of saving as a surprise for everyone. So let's see. Let me just take care of this again with the slideshows. I always have to switch the screen. Okay, let's try this again. All right, now let's see. Just want to give a shout out here. Yeah, Gary, good to see you. Oh, yes, the Festival of the Unexplained this weekend. Yes, you guys, you have a great time over there. I wish I was over there. If I could fly to the UK that easily, I definitely would. I would be there. All right, let's try this again. All right, hang on one second. Just got to see if it's showing up on the screen. For those that haven't seen, I've had issues where I thought I had the presentation shown on screen, but it hasn't. So I always got to check the phone view of it. And like I said before, for anyone who's watching, I'm not ignoring comments. I just can't see them while I'm doing this. But the second location we're going to be focusing on now is called Montezuma Castle. Now, again, this is another location that many of you have probably never heard of, unless you live throughout this. Well, probably unless you live in the state of New Mexico. But it's quite the location. In fact, I mean, honestly, this would be a place I would definitely want to go to, much like any of our paranormal brothers or sisters would. So, but this definitely has quite the story. Just before I do get started. Okay. So, in the late 19th century, Americans with a taste for adventure headed west on the nation's railroads. Along the way, they stopped to eat and rest at the hotels and restaurants of America's legendary innkeeper, Fred Harvey. Prior to the construction of the castle, several events took place. In 1841, Mr. Donaldson became the first known owner of the campus area who was granted the rights to the land by the Mexican government. The area is popular because of the hot springs. A few years later, in 1846, the land is purchased by the U.S. Army. The Army built a military hospital near the hot springs to serve soldiers injured in the Mexican-American War. Then, in 1862, the hospital was sold to O.H. Sorry, I kind of lost it. O.H. Woodworth, who converted it into a hotel called the Adobe Hotel, but was later burned down. Sorry, I just lost my place for a second. But was later burned down and was closed in the early 1890s. Now, this, as far as I know, is the actual only photograph of the hotel before it burned. It does look a little bit similar to what the modern day Montezuma Castle Hotel looks like today. Of course, obviously, it didn't quite have the castle-like structure, but it did have that classic revival structure. And in the case with many hotels, during the 1800s, it was surprisingly, it was built out of wood. So I could see why, such a hotel like that would have burned down back in the day, before we used much more better structures to build hotels. In 1879, the property adjacent to the Adobe Hotel is purchased by a group of investors with the hope of developing the hot springs into a tourist attraction. They built a new hotel named the Hot Springs Hotel, which is today's Old Stone Hotel. It was used by UWC USA for classrooms, the library, and offices. In 1880, the Las Vegas Hot Springs Company bought the hot springs and the surrounding property, including the Hot Springs Hotel. Harvey liked to put his properties right next to the railroad tracks, but in 1881, he switched gears, erecting a lavish resort on the edge of the northern New Mexico wilderness. It was the first building in the Southwest to have electric lighting. A marketing maven of his day, he arranged to have the area renamed Montezuma. Then he got the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad to build a rail spur linking the resort with nearby Las Vegas, New Mexico. And yes, no, not Las Vegas. Believe it or not, there actually is a town by that name. So no, not Las Vegas, Nevada, of course. It opened to the public in 1882 as a luxury hotel. In its early days, the castle served as a glorious resort for thousands of well-heeled visitors who sought out the healing waters of the nearby hot springs and the fresh mountain air. A landscaped park with shops, a water fountain, and even a zoo was created behind the building. In addition to the natural recreation available in Montezuma, the hotel provided bowling alleys and billiard rooms. The $200,000 structure was larger, more opulent, and more up to date than any like building than any. Geez, I must have messed up the typing for this. And more up to date than any building in the state. Boasting 3 stories and 270 rooms. It featured every modern convenience and posh appointments from New York, Boston, and Kansas City made urbanites feel right at home. These were widely thought to ease the suffering of people with tuberculosis, chronic rheumatism, biliary, and renal calculi. I don't even know if I'm even saying that correctly. The nearby Galenas Creek also provided excellent trout fishing. Guests included Theodore Roosevelt, Rutherford B. Hayes, Ulysses S. Grant, William Tecumseh Sherman, Jesse James, and Emperor Hirohito of Japan. The visitors to the hot springs represent every part of the continent of America, and nearly every tourist from abroad who crosses the continent by the southerly route stops there for a time. However, in 1884, the Montezuma Hotel burned down once again because of a clogged gas line. And that's sadly, again, looking at what it was previously. I mean, when it first opened and seeing how it was just completely burnt. Again, a second time, not necessarily down to the ground, but just seeing it pretty much gutted. It must have been just a devastating sight for everyone for not only those who lived in the area, but for everyone who either had visited the hotel or knew about it at least. All right, let me just move this over here. All right, see how much time do we have? Okay, we're already past half hour. Okay. Although surprisingly, despite the devastation that went on with the building being completely gutted by the fire, Harvey, undeterred, teamed up with the AT&SF Railroad to build an even grander place just up the hill. Less than a year later, in 1885, after the destruction of the first hotel, even though it's really the third hotel, the first one was obviously pretty much called the Montezuma Hotel, so that actually explains why they're calling it actually a second one. But anyways, a second Montezuma Hotel designed by Chicago architects Burnham and Root was built on the former site. Made of stone, and this absolutely fireproof, made of stone, this absolutely fireproof building, however, caught fire and burned down a second time 4 months after it opened. I mean, that can't be just simply a coincidence. I mean, even though this was the second Montezuma Castle, but really the third hotel that was kind of built within that area. 3 times already that there had literally been fires. And obviously one of them occurring just 4 months after it was built. Kind of makes you wonder almost as if, even though there was really never any kind of structures or any settlers or even any as far as we know, any Native American tribes that might have lived in the area, still, it just seems as if the land itself just happened to be cursed. It makes you wonder, because it would be very unusual to have an attempt of trying to get a grand hotel built only to be burned 3 times. Definitely very unusual circumstances. I forgot to add that. So those are the Chicago architects, Burnham and Root. So kind of cool, cool for my standards, since I'm from Chicago myself. For those that don't know, so two people from my home city. The blaze left two floors more or less intact. So the castle on the hill rose to life for a third time, believe it or not, in 1886 under the new name Phoenix Hotel. By the uh, by the early 1900s, however, the era of the Grand American Resort Hotel had waned. When a new rail line blazed an easier route to the Grand Canyon. The hotel closed on October 31st, 1903, due to bankruptcy, and was sold to the Young Men's Christian Association (YMCA) for $1. Unbelievable. That's kind of an that's the only time I've ever heard of a hotel ever being sold for that kind of price. And even more strange that it closed down on Halloween of that year. The building was then briefly used and owned as a training center by Jim Flynn when he was preparing for his 1912 boxing match with Jack Johnson. I almost said Jack Nicholson. I'm so familiar with saying Jack Nicholson all the time whenever they have such a similar last name. Jack Johnson. The fight was held in nearby Las Vegas, New Mexico. The complex then operated as a Baptist college from 1922 until 1931. All of the student body and faculty lived in the castle, where all the classes were held. The first freshmen arrived in the fall of 1922. Each year, another class was to have been added. The first president was named Maddox. The main source of meat were mule deer shot in the immediate vicinity of faculty and students. They were still using the ice house with ice from a nearby stream. A very small football team was enthusiastically supported by the student body of about 50. And that's obviously what it looked like when it was built for the third time, if I'm correct on that. The unbelievable. The Southern Baptist Church sold it to the Catholic Church in 1937, and it was operated as a seminary for Mexican Jesuits. I can't even pronounce that word right. I know what it is. I just don't know how to say it right. Sorry about that. Until 1972. So then the building then sat empty for nearly a decade and was subject, like many of these abandoned buildings do, unfortunately, to significant vandalism and decay. The Jesuits made, I think I got it right this time, the Jesuits made a little money by renting the building out as the set for the low-budget horror movie, well, that's weird. For some reason, it didn't show up before that. And the Jesuits made a little money by renting the building out as the set for the low-budget horror movie The Evil in 1977. In the years that followed, several other films also featured campus grounds, including Fanboys and Georgia O'Keeffe. In 1981, the castle and the surrounding 100 acres were purchased by industrialists and philanthropist, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, Armand Hammer, for use as the site of the new campus of the Armand Hammer United World College of the American West, now known as UWC USA. However, the building required extensive repairs before it could be used as a new college facility. Unfortunately, funds were unavailable at the time to make these repairs possible. The college built dorms and other facilities, but can make only partial use of the castle, portions of which have been declared unsound. In 1987, the once lavish structure was condemned. 10 years later, in 1997, it became the first historic property west of the Mississippi to be placed on America's 11 most endangered historic places. On the list, America's most endangered historic places list by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Historic places on previous lists included Ellis Island, Gettysburg, and Independence Hall. In 1998, the castle was designated one of America's treasures by the White House Millennium Council. Then, in 2000 and 2001, the school invested over $10.5 million into restoring the building with the help of philanthropist Shelby Davis, and has won awards as one of the greatest historical restorations in the United States. Now, as of today, the Montezuma Castle, or Davis International Center as it is now known, houses multiple college facilities, including the school dining hall, guest and dorm rooms, offices, classrooms, rehearsal spaces, a student center, and some administrative offices, complete with a store, laundry rooms, pool tables, a dance space, and a kitchen. Unfortunately, the building is not open to the public except when UWC USA offers student-led tours of the building on pre-scheduled dates. A list of these dates can be found on the college's website. So for anyone who lives throughout the state of New Mexico, if you happen to be a student at one of the universities, there's probably a good chance that you could probably get into the building. Now, although it's not open to the public, it is known, however, some believe that the Montezuma Castle itself is said to be haunted. Wasn't able to find a lot of ghost stories once again, but I was able to find at least a few of them, and one of them actually has a connection to the movie that was made, The Evil, back now almost 45 years ago. Obviously, as it says, there have been several reports of hauntings here. After the making of The Evil at the hotel, the spirits of the hotel became somewhat restless. Ever since, rumor has it that the ghost of the former proprietor of the original hotel walks around the hotel's corridors at night. The ghost of what appears to be a woman and was believed to have been an opera singer at the hotel has also been seen in the main tower at night. She's also been heard singing sometimes. In addition, opera music is heard when no one is around. And finally, a local legend also tells that anyone that tries to take a photo of the fireplace will not present a clear photo. Some visitors who have taken photos of the fireplace report nothing out of the ordinary, while others report finding their photos to be blurry. That's kind of the typical kind of thing like you see with some of these areas or objects, if you want, for lack of a better term, where they say that you take photos of a particular item or an area and that supposedly the camera doesn't work. But I actually went online to see, even though it's not necessarily open to the public, I was able to find a few photos of the fireplace itself among some of the few photos. And as far as what I've seen, whoever's been taking these photographs, over the years, these photos seem to come out just fine. But I have yet to have found any of the photos that had that blurry effect to it, as supposedly the legend goes. That also concludes. Now, sadly, that also concludes that presentation. However, let's see. I just want to give a quick shout out to see who it is. Let's see here. Who do we got? Yeah, Gary, I really wish I can go. Trust me. If it was easy for me, I definitely would. Hey, Crystal. Oh, Vivian, you have heard of this place. Wow. That's kind of a rarity. Let's see. What's going on, Carol? Yep, like I said, Vivian, it could very well be a very cursed land. Let's see. Yeah, bad luck, wink, wink. If there was smoking. Well, yeah, actually, now that you mentioned that, Vivian, it was quite common back, obviously throughout the late 1800s and early 1900s, or even further back, if you kind of think about it. That was also back in the days when smoking, especially cigars, was very much permitted, certainly not like what it is now, but it's but there was, as far as from what I've seen, they said that there was really no evidence whatsoever that these, the hotel burning 3 times in a row was ever caused by any type of uh, smoking incidences, except for the clogged gas pipe for the third one. Phoenix rising from the ashes, definitely. Oh, thank you, Vivian. I really appreciate that thing. I'm glad you're enjoying this. We're probably going to end a few minutes early, but just before we do, I also now have the trailer to The Evil, so I'm going to share the screen once again. And let me just turn off the virtual background once again. I also got a copy of it too on Blu-ray this time. They didn't really have that many copies, surprisingly, of it on DVD, unless you got it. You literally can only get that film for some strange reason only online or on Blu-ray, or even still to this day VHS. I've never found an actual DVD copy of The Evil. So, and believe it or not, this is actually a film I haven't seen, even though I own it now. But I've seen the trailer. Obviously, it looks like a really good film. So I'm going to share the screen once again, one last time, so you guys can get an idea for the film. All right, here we go again with this. Just want to make sure the screen is being shared. Okay, here we go. So here it is from, here it is from 1970. Well, it says 1978. So here is The Evil. There's the castle.
Nobody ever suspected what ancient terror slept beneath the Vargas house.
Oops. Let's fix that.
Nobody ever suspected what ancient terror slept beneath the Vargas house.
Story gets started about any old house that's been vacant for a while.
What kind of stories?
Oh, just the stories. Just old wives' tales.
Look out!
Terror that turns laughter into screams. And loving pets into killers. For the house belongs to the evil.
Disturb not he who is here held in chains. His house.
By the time you run, there is no escape. When you think you're free, you might be dead. By the time you learn the truth,
You can't do this!
it may be too late. Richard Crenna, Joanna Pennant, Victor Blumberg. The Evil. A New World picture.
Wow, that's quite that's quite an intense film. I definitely will certainly check that out. That is The Evil. Obviously, let's see. All right, see. Yes, Vivian. I already know that there was going to be, even though I can't make it out for this one this weekend as much as I really want to. I already did know about that there was going to be another Paracon that was going to be happening next year in the UK. So I promise you, along with many of the others out in the UK, that I'm going to be doing literally absolutely everything in my power of coming out to that Paracon. So I will definitely mark it down in the calendar. So that I definitely will. So I definitely appreciate that. And plus, also, there's another reason why I'm unable to go. I haven't got my passport yet. So I got to get that too. So, but I promise you, I'm gonna do everything I can. But that's gonna conclude our slideshows of tonight. So you can I think you guys kind of got the idea of why we kind of went. Things were kind of relatively short. I'm glad Zach came on for a few minutes because otherwise, I think we would have we probably would have made this into a half-hour show. But either way, we're going to get off for just about 9 minutes early. Well, as long as I'm still on, we might even make it possibly. Let's see. All right, let's see here through my personal profile. Hey, Cherokee, good to see you. And yes, I'm doing very well. Thank you, Vivian. Just before we go, I do have one quick announcement. Again, I know that this message has been repeated not only for my show, but for many of the other shows here on the Things Network. But because this is my first time being on the PAX channel, I thought I should send this important message out. For those that don't know, that are familiar with the location, Waverly Hills Sanatorium, there's been let's see here. Oh, thank you very much. I'm betting that's Zach. But very quickly, for those that don't know about Waverly Hills, it's been taken over by a nonprofit organization that we're actually trying. If I had a little bit more time, I would be able to explain a little bit more about what's been going on with the place. But since I only just got a few minutes left, I'm just going to kind of make it short, plain and simple. But they basically kicked out the original owners, and we're basically trying to do whatever we possibly can to fight this case so we can win back Waverly. So if any of you guys can go to the website savewaverlyhills.com or go to the Facebook page, donate $25 or so, you get a t-shirt, a Save Waverly Hills t-shirt. And even if you don't donate, if you show the support, it will make things really a difference so we could save this place, not only for future visitations, but also, for many of us, but also for the next generation of paranormal investigators. I mean, this is exactly like what me and Zach were talking about earlier. It's the focus on saving not only the haunted locations, but many of the historic locations, as well as the, biggest name ones out there. So if you can do that, we'd really appreciate that. For next week's show, and this is the last message I got. My next show for next week's show is going to be one that I think just about almost we've all heard of, whether you're a paranormal investigator or not. In fact, this could be even possibly a presentation there might even be a part 2 to it, because this is one of the longest presentations this is even longer than what I did with Blenheim Palace 2 weeks ago. We're going to be focusing on, and also additionally, this is my very first haunted house case I ever studied at a young age, the Amityville Horror. Yes, there's been a lot of regards to a lot of controversy regarding like whether this really truly was an actual like paranormal location or if it was most likely a hoax. I basically see kind of like a half and half to it. Part of it, there was some paranormal stuff that did occur, but also at the same time, there was definitely some hoaxes, definitely a hoax surrounding it. The presentation that I'll have for next week, yes, I'm going to be telling the somewhat paranormal side of it, but then I'm also going to add the true side of what supposedly really happened in that house. But anyways, like I said, I'm going to get off. I'm fortunate enough that there's only 5 minutes left, but I'm probably going to get off 5 minutes early. I just want to say for everybody, I really appreciate you guys coming in and taking this out to check out the show. Again, I'm very happy to now be broadcasting the show on another network. So awesome, Vivian. I look forward to seeing you next week. And yes, please, as Zach said, please stay with us on PAX on the page. I know we said there's another show coming up. I'm still getting used to all these, to the schedule and whatnot. But like I said, I can't seriously thank you guys enough. I know sometimes I do a little bit of mispronunciations and stuff like that, but it really is quite an honor. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much. I'll be back here next Wednesday evening, same time. And that just pretty much ends just about everything. So thank you guys again, and I will see you guys next week. You guys all have a great night.